Good evening. I'm Councillor Martin Cox, the Chairman of Policy and Resources Committee. I'm pleased to welcome you to this remote meeting of the committee. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded for playback on the Council's YouTube channel, and this will include the instant messaging. Will anybody else be recording the proceedings? I ask so that people attending the meeting will know if this is happening.
I reserve my right, Mr. Chairman.
That's why I stopped halfway through. There we are. Okay,
thank you very much, and I appreciate that.
I might start doing that as well, just to be awkward.
Yeah. I ask so that people attending the meeting will know if this is happening. My role as chairman will continue. However, the responsibility for managing the meeting has temporarily been assigned to the Democratic Services Officer, Ms. Parfitt. This officer will not steer the debate. They will merely assist in the implementing of the remote meeting protocols. Members are reminded once again that instant messaging will be visible to all those viewing the meeting and must only be used by members to indicate their wish to speak or to propose something. The clerk will now take the attendance register by reading out the list of committee members who will confirm their attendance by answering present. Please have your finger near the unmuting as she proceeds. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, members. Councillor Bryce?
Present.
Councillor M. Burton?
Present.
Councillor Chapel-Tay?
Present.
Councillor Clark?
Present.
Councillor Cox?
Present.
Councillor English?
Present.
Councillor Mrs. Gooch?
Oh, help. Yes, I am here. Yes, sorry, I am here. I just couldn't get to the knob in time.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey? Councillor Harvey? I'll come back. Councillor Mackay?
Present.
Councillor Mortimer?
Present.
Apologies have been received from Councillor Newton. Councillor Perry?
Present.
And we should have Councillor Powell as substitute for Councillor Newton.
Yeah, yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Round?
Present.
Councillor Springett?
Present.
Councillor de Wigan Shepherd?
Present.
If I can just check again with Councillor Harvey.
Present.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I now ask the clerk to read out the list of officers present and which items they're presenting.
Thank you. So with us this evening, we have the Chief Executive, Alison Broom, the Director of Regeneration and Place, William Cornell, for item 15, the Director of Finance and Business Improvement for items 13, 14 and 17, and that is Mark Green, my apologies. We have the Principal Lawyer, Jane Bolas, another Principal Lawyer, Claudette Valmond. We have the Democratic and Electoral Services Manager, Mr. Ryan O'Connell, Democratic Services Officer, Lara Banks, and we have the Economic Development Officer, Alison Elliott, for item 16, and myself, Olivia Parfitt, as clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. So to item 1, apologies. We've received apologies, as you heard, from Councillor Gordon Newton. And item 2, substitute members, we've heard from Councillor Eddie Powell. Item 3, there are no urgent items this evening, which have been, there are 2 urgent items this evening which have been published in the amended agendas. These are the committee work programme and Appendix 1 proposed design scheme for item 16. Also, while not an urgent item, I propose to take item 17, the EU transition, before item 16, the King Street car park, so that all public proceedings have taken place prior in the event that the committee chooses to enter into a closed session to discuss the exempt appendix on item 16. If there is no dissent, I will assume this is agreed. Thank you. Item 4, I've received notification from Councillors J and T Sams for item 15, the Council-led Garden Community Update. Are there any other visiting members? Please make yourself known by unmuting and speaking now, please. Excellent. Thank you very much. Item 5 then, disclosures by members and officers. Please speak out now if there are any disclosures by members or officers. Marvellous. Swimmingly on. Item 6, disclosures of lobbying. The clerk will ask members of the committee if they've had any disclosures of lobbying. They must either answer none or yes and specify the agenda item or items. Ms. Parfitt?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bryce.
Yes, items 14 and 15.
Councillor M. Burton.
Sorry, yes, 15 and 16, I believe.
Councillor Chapel-Tay.
Items 13 through to and including 17.
Thank you, Councillor Clark.
Yes, item number 15.
Councillor Cox.
Yes, items 13 through to 17, including 15. Thank you.
Councillor English.
Yes, items 14 and 15.
Councillor Mrs. Gooch.
None, thank you.
Councillor Harvey.
Item 15.
Councillor Mackay. Councillor Mackay.
Beg your pardon. 14 and 15.
Thank you. Councillor Mortimer.
Yes, just item 15.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Yes, item 15.
Thank you. Councillor Powell.
Item 15.
Councillor Round.
Item 15.
Councillor Springett.
Item 15.
Councillor de Wigan Shepherd.
13, 15 and 17. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. That concludes the lobbying.
Hold on, please. May I just say that I have been lobbied on 15. I'm so sorry. I did receive an email and I completely forgot about it this evening. Thank you. Sorry if that could be amended. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Gooch.
Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, moving to item 7 then, we're to consider any items should be taken in private because of the possible disclosure of an exempt information. There is one exempt item this evening, item 18, the exempt appendix about King Street car park. If any member wishes to discuss this item in any detail, then the committee will need to move into a closed session. But I tend to do that at the time that we go just prior to that item being heard. So I will do that in that way. Otherwise, I propose to take all other items in part 1. So is that agreed? Silence is golden. Lovely. Thank you very much. Item 8, the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of November, found in your agenda packs, page 1 through 12. I plan to move the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of November as are agreed as a correct record. If there is no dissent, I will assume that this is agreed. I will not go through the minutes page by page. So if you have anything to amend, please would you notify us now by unmuting and speaking. Lovely, thank you very much. The minutes will be signed as a correct record and I will do that at a later date when I've got half a day or so to set aside. Thank you very much. Item 9, there are no petitions. Item 10, there are no questions from the public, members of the public. And item 11, there are no questions from members to the chairman. Item 12, which you should have all received as amended item, was a print room problem. So we've sent it out to you. The committee work programme can be found either as you've received it separately. So is there anybody who would like to bring anything to the committee's attention? I don't intend necessarily to pass over and to go into any items in detail. So would anybody like to point out anything at this point or ask any questions?
Chair, can I propose an extra item for the work programme?
Please go ahead, Mr. Green.
Members may know that there's an item in the capital programme for Granada House, and we're planning to bring a report in January on that subject.
Okay, thank you. So we'll put that in on the January meeting. Anybody else wishing to amend or add anything or ask any questions? Fantastic. So with that amendment then, and the insertion of Granada House item, that's perfect. We'll move on to agenda item 13, the medium-term financial strategy update. The report will be introduced by Mr. Green.
Thank you, Chair. You asked us for this update following the consideration of the medium-term financial strategy at your last meeting, and there were two reasons. One was that the same day as the last meeting, the Chancellor announced the spending review, which included a number of things that affected the projections in the MTFS. And also, we were hoping that by now we would have the local government finance settlement for next year. As it happens, this is being announced tomorrow, so I can't say anything on that, but I will circulate a note to members following the announcement of the settlement. But the report still stands in its own right, and what it does is summarise the key points from the Chancellor's spending review and what it means for us on pages 16 to 18. And actually, there were some positives for us coming out of the spending review. The government is now saying that they'll extend support for local authorities into next year for losses suffered coming out of COVID-19. And also, they've made borrowing from the Public Works Loan Board cheaper by 1 percentage point, providing that borrowing is not for investment purely for income generating purposes. And what that means for us, we need the settlement figures that are coming out tomorrow to be specific, but it is positive in that it will reduce the budget gap that was shown in the report last month, so that's positive, but it doesn't wipe out the budget gap. And of course, we've been working in any case on developing savings proposals to close that budget gap. And what I can say at this stage is that the savings proposals that we're planning to bring to committees in January unfortunately won't close the budget gap, even with the changes that come out of the spending review. And so the basic approach that was outlined in the report last month, whereby we'll aim to close the budget gap over the next 3 years and bridge that gap by using the new homes bonus in the meantime. That basic approach still stands, although we should get to a balanced position somewhat more quickly than would otherwise have been the case. So that's the position coming out of the spending review. As I say, we'll have the specific figures to confirm that coming out of the finance settlement tomorrow, and we'll be bringing the detailed budget proposals that I mentioned to committees, starting with the CHI committee on 5th of January. So I think that sets out in summary what's in the report in front of you. I'm very happy though to take any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I can just add, Mr. Green, you very kindly said that you would brief individual groups or groups of groups about the Chancellor's spending review and actually what that means to us. So between now and Christmas, I know that meetings have been set up. So thank you very much for doing that. I know it will help the groups when they're looking forward to the budget. Nobody else is wishing to add anything to that. This report is for noting. Does anybody have an intention to disagree with the noting? Once again, I take your silence as agreed that we are noting the report from Mr. Green, item 13. Thank you very much. Item 14 then, fees and charges on your notes and agenda, pages 20 to 79. This report will be once again introduced by Mr. Green.
Thank you, Chair. The Council reviews its fees and charges every year, and this report sets out those that affect this committee and gives an overview of the position for all the committees. And the other 3 committees have already reviewed the fees and charges affecting their particular areas. And as members may recall from previous years, we have a charging policy which guides officers in making their recommendations about fees and charges. And there's a number of factors to take into account. We have a fair degree of flexibility, and what that means is that in many cases for next year, fees and charges have been frozen where it seems appropriate to do so, although broadly speaking, the approach in the past has always been to increase fees and charges by inflation. So far as the other committees are concerned, I said that they'd all considered the fees and charges for their areas. SPI committee and L committee agreed those within their areas, and CHI committee considered the fees and charges, but they asked for more information about crematorium and cemetery fees and charges. So that report will be going back to CHI committee in January for further consideration. And so far as this committee is concerned, the actual fees and charges in your area are relatively modest. It's really just legal fees and charges, which have basically been put up by inflation, as you can see from Appendix 1 to this report. So what the report's asking you to do is to agree the fees and charges affecting this committee, and to note statutory fees and charges relating to this committee, which generally are to do with debt collection, also in Appendix 1, and also the overall changes relating to the other committees. Again, I'm very happy to take any questions that you may have on the report.
Thank you very much. Once again, the report was very concise. Again, Mr. Green, I do have Councillor Bryce, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Green. I understand it's been agreed by the other committees, but it's on appendices 3 to 5 really that my questions lie. So, Chair, I don't know if you want to take anybody else's questions if they relate to the P&R fees and charges first.
Councillor English, is your question relevant to the P&R charges or more generally?
Well, it relates to the town hall, so it's P&R, yeah.
If you'd like to fire away, Ms. Bryce is giving way to you.
Understandably, it's probably not wise to increase an estimate for the town hall because we don't know when and if we're going to be back in there for the coming year. But just as an observation, if you're a member of the public, I very much doubt whether you would have the slightest idea that you can even rent the town hall, or how to go about it. So I would, whilst I don't think we should be looking at increasing fees and charges there at in the current circumstances, I do think that when it reopens again would be an appropriate time to reassess publicity around how you book the town hall. I asked 20 people this week about this, just by way of doing an informal survey. 19 of them were unaware that you could in fact do so. And they represent a number of local organisations as well as individuals. So the reopening opportunity with COVID gives us, I think, an opportunity to relaunch that and actually look at making that a viable proposition, because there isn't even a phone number on the outside saying if you want to book these premises, ring this number.
Very good point. Thank you very much, Councillor English. Something we'd take on board, Mr. Green?
Absolutely. I think it's a very good point, and definitely when we're able to advertise it again for bookings, we'll pick up on that.
Okay. I now have indication from Councillor Mackay and Councillor Gooch. Are either of your points about P&R? Because at the moment Ms. Bryce is given way because she has a number not about P&R.
It is about
I beg your pardon. I'd say that mine's about the town hall, actually, very quickly, Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Mackay, giving way to Councillor Gooch, relevant to just this point?
Most certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you, Councillor Bryce, as well. I do support fully the comment that Councillor English has made. I have recently complained about the notice boards outside the town hall. Fortunately, it was dealt with absolutely straight away. But we've got a little gem there and we're just not using it. And here we are talking about fees and charges, about something that we're not even thinking about promoting. We're not using our notice boards there to inform people either about COVID or about One Maidstone regenerating the town, or even, I know we can't advertise our committee meetings at the moment, but I am reinforcing Councillor English's points, and I will wish my points to be taken on board as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will do so. Councillor Mackay.
Very quickly, it was only to say I 100% agree with Councillor English, but I just disagree on relaunching it, because I don't think it was ever launched anyway. It was the best kept secret in Maidstone.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chair, can I just come in again on that? And
certainly.
I know that Mr. O'Connell has been looking at this, and I wonder if you'd like to ask him to comment.
Mr. O'Connell, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. So it's just to say that we do have a piece of work coming up on the overall strategy for the town hall. One of the things that we need to keep in mind is that as we reduce space within Maidstone House, which obviously generates an income for the authority as we sort of lease it out to other places, it does increase the internal usage of the town hall as a meeting venue, both Committee Room B and the town hall chamber. So as we kind of pitch our commercial approach for the town hall, we have to bear in mind that it does provide an internal function to the rest of the council as well. So it's not a case of kind of throwing open the doors for as much external business as possible. We have to pitch it properly, but I will definitely take members' comments into consideration when we're looking at that commercial strategy for the town hall. Thank you.
Thank you. You might want to give some consideration, because I know this has been relevant in the past, that some members objected to certain types of use as well, which I thought we did found strange at the time, but perhaps I will take that outside the meeting with you. Okay, back to Councillor Bryce then, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to make a few comments about some of the fees and charges in appendices 3 onwards. So on page 49, we've got fixed penalty fines for failure to produce waste documents, failure to produce authority to transport waste, unauthorised distribution of free printed matter, etc., etc. Given the issues that we're having with fly tipping and other things in the countryside, which is blocking roads now on a fairly frequent basis. We had a lane just blocked in my ward at the weekends. I know other councillors suffer with this. I just wondered why those weren't increasing, and forgive my ignorance if they are capped and subject to, you know, a higher level cap that we can't control. Similarly, for residents who do seek to do the right thing and organise a bulky collection or hire a garden waste service from us in terms of a bin, we're increasing those fees. And for the garden waste service, that's quite a significant hike. And again, if we put people off doing it, I'm not saying every resident will, you know, not choose to do the right thing, but, you know, I think we want to make it as easy as possible for people to do the right thing. When we look at page 52, we've got some landlord accreditation fees. And again, these are going up. And I would have thought when the pub trade is struggling, unless I've misunderstood what those licensing charges are for, I would have thought we wouldn't want to be doing that. I know it's a small amount, but every little might help right now. And then we turn to the matter of the fees and charges for car parks. And I don't understand why we would put these up when we are probably seeking to preserve our high street through what has been an incredibly difficult trading period. And I know these matters have probably been discussed at other committees, but it's in front of us and it's in front of me to note tonight. So I'd just be grateful for a bit more context on those matters. Thank you.
Mr. Green, I don't know if we can be very specific with all of those items, but certainly the last one might cause an issue with being specific. But Mr. Green, can you comment on any of Councillor Bryce's questions?
Yes, by all means. And I may ask Mr. Cornwall to comment on some of these because they're in his area. I mean, on the ones that aren't specifically about waste collection, when it's referring to landlords, this is to do with landlords in the sense of landlords of houses in multiple occupation. It's not landlords as in pub landlords, so it's a very different sort of issue. With the garden waste charges, what was presented to Chi Committee was information about how our charges relate to those in other Kent authorities, and actually our service is cheaper than the average elsewhere in the county, and it's a popular service. I think most people would be prepared to pay a bit more for it. I don't think that it's because it is a service that's very widely used. I don't think you'll find many people just dumping their garden waste if the cost goes up £5. But I don't know, Mr. Cornwall, whether you want to add anything either on the waste collection or the parking charges.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening, councillors. In terms of the garden waste, yes, we sort of taken advice on this one and sort of researched what other authorities are doing in the southeast. So the increase, although sizable in percentage terms, doesn't take us sort of anywhere near the middle or even more expensive price points that other authorities have. In terms of the question about the fly tipping penalties, I'll undertake to take that one away, and I will respond to you, Councillor Bryce, and the other members of the committee on that one, because I'm not sure actually what whether there is a cap on that or not. So I will look into that and come back to you. But more generally, obviously we're in a difficult situation as per the previous report, and it's trying to identify areas where we can make modest adjustments to our fees and charges to move forward with a balanced budget. So it is difficult choices, I accept.
Okay, did you want to come back on any of those, Councillor Bryce?
Thank you, William. Yeah, that would be welcome, because I think you can see my point of view that we're not putting the fines up for the people that do the wrong thing, but we're putting the fees up for the people that do try to do the right thing. What about the point on the car parking charges?
Yes, this was a price increase that was agreed to take place with effect from the 1st of April of this year, and ultimately it wasn't possible to effect that change owing to the pandemic. So it was something that was discussed at length at the SPI committee as to whether it would be the right thing for the increase to be applied or not, and the vote was taken and the decision made to increase the prices. I accept your point. It's difficult times and so on, but the price changes are sort of modest in pence terms, and also they do introduce a £2 price point that hasn't been available to customers before. So there is some positives that go alongside, the modest price increase. So hopefully that's helpful.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think the increases we're talking 5p, 8p, things like that. So I think those increases, actually, it would appear that we are freezing them. We intended to make them rise. They will go up as of next April. So I hope that will carry forward. Interestingly, one question I have been asked, and it was no less than about 2 hours ago, somebody rang me and said, can you tell me how many car parks I can actually pay for with cash? Now, can anybody just remind me if the machines that we have, do they take a card payment as well as the Ringo, or is it only done by Ringo?
Thank you, Chairman. I think with the exception of one car park, all are still take cash, and that taking of cash is with the new modern machines that have been rolled out and fitted during this year. So we are seeing much more of a transition to cashless parking because of the functionality of these new machines and the Ringo app alongside it. But if customers want to pay by cash, they can in virtually all the car parks. Thank you.
So sorry, can you tell me whether they do take a card?
And card as well, yes, of course.
Lovely. Okay, thank you. That was all bar one. Marvellous. I can go back to that. I have Councillor Mortimer indicating, and then Councillor Mackay in that order, please.
I just wanted to say regarding the garden waste prices, and at the end of the day, if I could say Tunbridge Wells £52, Thanet 52, Gravesham 48, Folkestone and Hythe 48. So we're sort of not even close to them yet. So I think it's justifiable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mackay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. William mentioned that one would still be able to pay their parking charges in cash. Now, there was a lot of talk about how people wouldn't be able to pay their council tax in cash. And the change was made because of our digital strategy. How does this fit in with our digital strategy that we're allowing people to use dirty money to pay for their parking fees?
Mr. Cornell?
Thank you, Councillor Mackay, for the question. I will not say categorically, but I'm pretty sure that it is in the regulations that council-operated car parks have to provide a means of cash payment. I will confirm that tomorrow for you. I've always understood that to be the case. I don't think there's been any changes to that point, but ultimately we're trying to usher a sort of new way of doing things with these high-quality machines with their additional functionality, so they do take card payments, and we're getting a much bigger transition to cashless car parking now. But I believe it sort of remains within the regulations. But I will check that point out for sure for you and email you tomorrow, Councillor Mackay.
Thank you very much, William.
Thank you. I think there's a degree of functionality as well that people will start to find, but I'm sure it will disappear at some stage, but not just yet. Okay, I don't have anybody else indicating. Therefore, this item has recommendations that we can find on page 20. There are three recommendations. One I would need to take a vote on. The other two are for noting. So does anybody intend to object to the item 1, which we need to have agreed? I'm happy to propose that.
Seconded, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor English. I'm therefore proposing and have been seconded that we vote on item 1, but include items 2 and 3 for noting, if that's okay. Does anybody intend to object to that, or can I take your silence as agreement?
I intend to object to the item 3, which is for noting.
You don't want it noted?
I don't agree with it, so I'd like that noted.
Okay, was that Councillor Perry?
Councillor Bryce.
Yeah, but I thought I heard Councillor Perry on the side. No?
No,
okay.
No.
Okay, right. In which case, are you just wishing your
Dissent.
Dissent. I was going to say disagreement, but that's the wrong word, you see. Would you like your dissent noted, Councillor Bryce, for item 3?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes.
Okay, so in which case, I will take acceptance of item 1 by your silence and agree that item 3 for Councillor Bryce, dissent be noted. Your silence will be this agreement. Thank you very much. Moving on then to item 15. Before we go to item 15, I have been made aware that Mr. Healy would like to address the committee on behalf of Save Our Heathlands Action Group. You have 3 minutes in which to give us your address, please.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members. Before you tonight is the latest instalment in the Heathlands debacle. Just over a year ago, the committee was sold the utopian garden community dream. This council would take on the master developer role for a new town, bigger in population than any other parish in the borough. You would deliver a new high-speed railway station and motorway junction. You would lead the way in placemaking, and you would secure the land options, engage with the community, lead the delivery process and attract high-quality house builders. Instead, throughout 2020, these benefits and deliverables have fallen away, one by one, to leave bare a project that is on the road to nowhere. Tonight, officers are now asking you to agree a sellout after less than 18 months and leave the project in the fate of the government's housing quango, Homes England. This demonstrates just how much confidence senior officers of this council have in being able to deliver this project themselves. Despite what some think, Homes England won't unilaterally be able to secure the motorway junction. Homes England won't be able to magically resolve the land ownership issues to assemble the site. They will not be able to make the site more sustainable, and nor will they be able to drive down the exorbitant infrastructure costs, such as having the water treatment works moved to make the project financially viable. Save Our Heathlands have spent over 12 months trying to open your eyes to the limitations and constraints of the project from local people in Lenham. The fact that there are over 140 landowners to satisfy, that the only soft sand mineral site in the southeast for the next 30 years has been safeguarded by KCC, slap bang in the middle of the proposed development. We've interrogated the financials and we've managed to glean as much information as possible through comparisons with other national projects to demonstrate that this project does not stack up commercially. As recently as last week, we posed questions to you all that have to be answered in order for you to make sound and conscious decisions on the fate of Heathlands. We ask that you robustly challenge officers on the perceived reassurances they are providing you about this project, such as negotiations with landowners and the true highway impact, which simply cannot be mitigated with the existing network. Now is not the time to be playing roulette with the livelihoods of Lenham's residents, nor with the £1.5 million of ratepayers' money that should be focused elsewhere. If Heathlands was such an attractive proposition, we ask why private developers are not lining up to partner this project. The reality is Heathlands is not the right solution. Maidstone doesn't need Heathlands development to meet its housing need. It needs more sustainable, deliverable and viable propositions which are realistic and sensible. Today, we learn that the government has listened and committed to changing the mutant housing algorithm. Tonight, we ask members of this committee to listen and commit to change the council's mutant ambition to build a new town in the middle of the countryside. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Healy. The report will now be introduced by Mr. Cornwall.
Thank you, Chairman. So once again, this is the monthly update report on the council-led garden community, and to remind the council is pursuing this project as it is consistent with the council's strategic plan, and within that the priority of embracing growth and enabling infrastructure. The project covers the following topics: the promotion of Heathlands through the local plan review, our partnership with Homes England and the principal landowners. But it's the first two of those that I'll sort of focus on in my introduction now. So in terms of the local plan review, as reported last time, the project progressed into the consultation document, which was very good news. The consultation for Regulation 18B is now underway, And so the council, acting as land promoter, should really submit representations to the draft plan and the sustainability appraisal too. So that work is underway and it's covered within the recommendation, and obviously the consultation closes before Christmas. The next stage of work with the local planning authority and the local plan review is to develop the proposal to a third iteration, if you like, and that work has got to be undertaken in the final quarter of this financial year. So that will be working sort of much more closely this time with the local planning authority, looking at the master plan again, redefining the red line possibly, looking at and refining the infrastructure statement, the vision statement, and also the proposals around the sustainable transport strategy. So that work needs to be sort of planned and scoped. We're just going through that process with the local planning authority now, and as I say, that will be for quarter four, and that again is covered within the recommendations. I think that the key area for decision this evening relates to the collaboration agreement with Homes England. So when we started this project, we always felt that we would need partners to help us deliver it, and our partner of first choice was always Homes England, and it's very positive that they've come to the table to work with us. So the collaboration agreement really deals with two elements of the project. If we take element one, it's the next 5 years between where we are today and submitting a planning application. So it's continuing to promote the scheme through the local plan review, securing the land options and submitting a planning application, putting in place the design codes and so on and so forth. And we've approved a budget at this committee of £3 million for that phase of work. And what the collaboration agreement will effectively do will mean that we share that sum 50-50 with Homes England, and that's sort of set out within the report. And then the second element of the collaboration agreement is how the council might choose to work with Homes England through the delivery phase after year 5, if you like, for years 5 through to 30, or what the eventual delivery period of the project might be. Within the report, I've sort of scoped out 3 possible options of how we could work with Homes England, and these have been explored in depth with the corporate leadership team, and a recommendation has been made. So I'll probably pause at that point if it's okay, and I'll be pleased to take questions, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cornell. We have visiting members, as I stated at the beginning of the meeting. So if I could take those in the following order, in alphabetical surname, Councillors Powell and then J and then T Sams, if that's possible.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, I mean, after listening to Mr. Healy speak this evening, he really did encompass absolutely everything, because last year members were told about this great ambition for MBC to be a master developer and produce the best-in-class development which embraced growth and enabled infrastructure. Sounds good, doesn't it? A year later, the infrastructure promise has fallen away. No new motorway junction, no secondary school, no further GP surgery, no high-speed station, and the new station that has now been mentioned, the slow train line to London, is now highly unlikely. The centre of the development is a wastewater treatment plant, and a huge parcel of land will be tied up as a mineral site to 2050. Maidstone Council do not own any land and are no closer in reaching an agreement with landowners. And why am I telling you members here tonight, details that you probably already know. I mean, I've constantly said I'm like a broken tape recorder on this. We are again receiving another report from officers here tonight that we all know does not contain the full facts. It is extremely vague and does not provide a detailed business case for us members to enable them to make an informed decision on the Homes England agreement. We've been here before, members. The risks are huge, and as elected members, we now need to stop this. Maidstone Council could potentially lose control of this local plan review. I would urge members tonight I'd like to put a motion forward, if that's allowed, Mr. Chairman, that would not allow Maidstone Council to sign any agreement until members receive a report that the details and the full facts of the agreement, roles and responsibilities, and how and what exposure Maidstone Council will have.
Councillor Powell, can I just interject to that point?
Yes, of course.
Initially, you were going to be a visiting member.
Yes, I know.
I asked you as that.
Yes.
So therefore, as a visiting member, which you are not, you aren't able to put forward a motion at this point. If you wish to stop, I could go to the Councillor Sands.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine.
We could come back to you as the member of the committee.
Okay.
And we'll take it forward in that way if you wish to do what you've just said.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine, Mr.
Don't
Chairman.
anybody second. It's my fault.
No, it's okay. No,
I don't want to cut you off in your prime.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, but doing so, I would turn to Councillor Janetta and Tom Sams in that order, please, as visiting members.
Thank you, members. I'm here to read out a statement as representatives themselves are meeting tonight. This is Lenham Parish Council's response to the report for the Director of Regeneration and Place, the council-led Garden Community Update. Lenham Parish Council is very concerned with the content, timing and implications of this report. In pure reporting teams, with this 10-page report dealing with what is likely to be a multi-million-pound development if it happens, the risks are dispatched within 18 lines. The whole report is focused on eulogising the benefits of engaging with Homes England whilst sidelining the remaining and significant issues of land ownership, infrastructure, cost, consultancy costs, risks to the council's reputation and the growing opposition to the scheme. In short, no real progress has been made in the 18 months since this scheme was announced, other than the identification of additional risk and lack of resolution of the already known risks. The timing of this report and request of a decision seeks to override the current foreshortened public consultation on Regulation 18B, as well as the inspector's approval of the Lenham Neighbourhood Plan, and indicate that the council is prejudging and therefore prejudicing the outcome of Regulation 18B consultation. The Parish Council recommendation is that this report should be returned to the corporate leadership team, who should accept that the ratepayers' money spent on this project, which must amount to $500,000 with outside salaries and consultancy fees, has been wasted and should be written off. Councillors, I have to agree that this is a folly that is going to cost £1.5 million. It is interesting that there is a thought for councillor involvement in that part involving Homes England. Interesting, as from what we are led to believe from officers to date, councillor involvement in direct Homes England unminuted discussions has been nil. Indeed, both our Chief Executive and Mr Connell took time to confirm how this was officer-to-officer discussion with Homes England. The report states, it is envisaged at this state that Homes England will control the option and will potentially fully fund the acquisition. It seems to me that this council, when it is convenient, is jettisoning from involvement at a key time. So any pretence of actually wanting control, and remember the control was promised as a key factor for having this project, have all but disappeared. You will become a reactive participant, not a constructive contributor, and which was promised. Homes England will then be in a position to take what they want. The council is continuing to make poor decisions, and as time goes by, these poor decisions made will cost taxpayers more. This is at a time when we can ill afford the expenditure, councillors. Please pull the plug and put the Heathland project out of its misery, save Maidstone residents money and spend it more efficiently elsewhere where need is greatest. Thank you, councillors.
Councillor Janetta, sorry, Councillor Sams Janetta. Can you just clarify at the beginning of that? You said this is a report from the Save Our Lenham Heath group, or was that from you?
It was the response. It was a Lenham Parish Council response up to obviously their recommendation, which was that the corporate leadership team should accept the ratepayers' money spent on the project, which must amount to 500,000.
I heard what the content of that was, Councillor Sams. I was asking whether that was your report or whether it was somebody else's, and you just confirmed it was Lenham Parish Council, yes?
It was their, that's right,
Okay.
It was their report
Thank you.
until obviously I made the end part saying that I had to agree with them.
All right, okay. Thank you very much. Pass over then to Councillor Tom Sams, please.
Thank you, councillors. I'll be very brief. Councillors, as we approach the festive season, the chill I feel is not about winter. It's a council moving to a cliff edge where the finances of this council are in such a serious position that this continued path is frightening and dangerous. I feel saddened that we choose to continue. With a background of the misery of COVID, record suffering and uncertainty, job insecurity and financial worry, and so much more, we plug on, accepting reports that minimise risk and that overly optimistically paint a bright future. This project will ultimately fail, the resources, the money spent and time all wasted. I feel saddened for our residents in Lenham Heath, who in one line of this report are dismissed with under health. This council will not negatively impact on the population of the population health or that of individuals. I repeat, this council will not negatively impact on the population health or that of any individuals. How is this possible? Try telling that to families worried to death about their futures. Our older residents who have lived there for 50 plus years, having sleepless nights because of the blight caused to their properties and their retirement plans they had all shattered. Janetta and I have had conversations with residents who are crying down the phone to us, sick with worry. Health not affected? Such words in a report accepted by councillors, but not challenged as to their accuracy or understood as the human impact. For many of our residents, it's not a good time, not a happy time. Please recognise the actions and the decisions you take tonight do have a human, physical and mental impact, impacting on people's well-being. Like much of this report, this much of the real facts are completely ignored, glossed over to make convenient reading, prepared by officers and read by councillors, but ultimately affecting Lenham Heath residents. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you very much, Tom. Are there any other visiting members that have arrived during any part of this meeting that I haven't been made aware of, Ms. Parfitt?
There aren't, Chairman.
Thank you very much. In which case, just remind you, moving from this point, I have got Councillor Powell and Councillor English who've indicated. Please could I ask you to use the instant messenger for those of you wishing to speak, and then we can move forward with this. So I will turn to Councillor Eddie Powell, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so I've nearly got to the end of what I was talking about anyway. But I mean, I think you can probably tell from the previous speakers, my fellow councillors tonight, that there's a lot of emotion within this. But obviously, what we do need to do is to examine the facts behind everything. We know the financials on the Heathlands, that they don't stack up, and we also know that this council could be left with a bill if Homes England discover, which we're 99%, well, which I feel that we're 99% wrong. The question I keep asking myself is if this garden community proposal is as good as we've been told, members, why are we giving it away to Homes England? So if I come back to what I mentioned during my speech earlier on, I'm really urging members tonight that we don't allow the council to sign any agreement until us members receive a report that details the full facts of the agreement, roles and responsibilities, and exactly what exposure us as a council we'll have. I think that's the least we can do at this stage, Mr. Chairman, just to get this information before us, and then let's examine it. At least it'll take away a lot of the nervousness, a lot of the considerable. I mean, I'm just listening to what Councillor Tom Sam said then. I mean, if he's getting people crying over the phone, this is the stage it's getting to. And I think that us as a council owe it to the general public to find the facts and then present it. I think after Robert Jenrick's report yesterday, I think we are going to be given a little bit more time on this now. So anyway, that's my case. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor English.
Well, whether or not we can rely on the government to give us more time, or how their changes to the algorithm will play out is something of an imponderable at the moment. Hopefully you're right, Councillor Pell. I wouldn't put money on it. What is fairly clear to me is that from a planning point of view, this proposal, and I've said this before, does not add up. It's beginning to unravel. It may still be a viable planning proposal, but it will be a very different one than the original Garden Village concept. It's not going to be a garden village. It may yet be an allocation that is deliverable. I will leave the comments on that to another place because it's not appropriate to go through them here. It may be an allocation that can be delivered, but it is not a garden village in any meaningful sense of the word. However, that doesn't mean it can't be a valid planning allocation. It may need some changes to actually be that. Having said that, I am uncomfortable with the lack of information about how this stacks up from the council's point of view, in terms of the actual putting together in a physical and financial sense of this proposal. I would have expected more detail at this stage, given that there are some fundamental and quite large financial commitments that might be made. That doesn't mean that the information can't be achieved. It can be, I hope. But I have to say that I hope I can be reassured that we're not making any irrevocable decisions this evening on committing money, because I would not wish to commit money on the basis of the financial information that's on this paper. There isn't any.
I think it's the opposite, actually, Councillor English, isn't it? We're actually offsetting. We have a partner before us. But anyway, I will bow. If you have you concluded? Sorry. Yes. Okay. I also have indication then from Councillor Bryce, Councillor Springett, in that order, please.
Can I give way to Councillor Springett, please, Councillor Cox?
Oh, you're very good at this giving way, Councillor Bryce. Yes, certainly. Councillor Springett.
Thank you.
No one's recognised me on it.
Oh, bless you, John.
Where?
I'll happily give way to you, John, as well. I just didn't see you indicate.
I indicated twice. I don't know what's happened to your IM, but it's not.
I don't. If John wants to speak now, I don't mind. Whichever.
Okay, I'm chairing, so Councillor Springett, then Councillor Perry, but I do not have anything in the IM, John, but sorry about that.
Thank you. I have quite a degree of sympathy with what Mr. Healy's saying, really. And I just think Homes England are going to take over. My concern is they just want to produce boxes, lots of them, and that really their interest will not lie with the overall design, the infrastructure, and I'm just concerned that if we let them take too much control, we'll just lose control of this and we will not get what we were intending to get in the first place.
Can I ask Mr. Cornwall to just absolutely confirm and endorse what he has set out in option 2B, please, letting us know what is proposed and see if we can bring any contentment to Councillor Springett and others thoughts at this point. Mr. Cornwall?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the questions. Just sort of to take a step back, first of all, in terms of the expenditure outlined for the next 5 years that we've spoken about, that was presented to this committee previously and approved, and now features in our capital programme on the back of that. So that £3 million worth of costs has all been sort of set out to this committee previously, line by line, and approved. Similarly, the overall financial model, business case, residual land value, whatever you like to call it, has been presented to this committee as well under Yellow Pages back in July, I believe, and we did a seminar sort of explaining at a high level how the numbers and lines worked in that. So on the strength of that, I've sort of felt it sensible, in order to make this a public report, that the full JV option, is going to be clear to the members in terms of the potential financial liabilities and risks and reward within that. So what I was really looking for from the committee this evening is to sort of set out the three kind of paths that we could go on in terms of this partnership with Homes England. In terms of that, in terms of placemaking and designing the project that everyone wants, that's absolutely going to happen in the next 5 years. That's when the policy for the site will be created. It's when the planning application will be made, and it's when the design codes will be created. So very much, if the council wants to create a blueprint, the opportunity is within the first 5 years. In terms of Homes England as a partner, they're obviously the government agency. They have a remit to facilitate the delivery of housing, but I think their remit goes beyond that, and I think their aspirations are every bit as high as ours in terms of design quality and placemaking. And I think to sort of review their website and corporate documents, I think councillors would be very, very assured of that fact.
Councillor Springett, did you want to come back to that at all?
I'm just worried that it's going to be taken a little bit out of our hands. That's all. I wanted to see a motorway junction, and I still want to see a motorway junction. So I'm still not convinced we should do this without, and I think we need to try and get Homes England on board with that. When we have other planning applications, we get the likes of Hyde Housing or Golding Homes, and they just sort of take over a certain number of the homes on the site. I'm just a bit concerned. I know this is a different ball game, but I'm just feeling uneasy about this, that's all.
Councillor Springett, if I can just add to what Mr. Cornwall said there. Homes England do this all over the country. We certainly will have the reference of that, as with Mr. Cornwall has said. We can look at this and have done on their website of what they've achieved. The junction, as you are aware, you've been to the briefings, I know, this is not firmly attached to this one site, because a junction of this type involves certain criteria being there. And we've made that, going back probably a best part 10 months to a year, we've said that it is not firmly linked. It needs contribution from other places as well. But I join you totally. And there is an area set aside for the junction, and we will aim to have that very front and foremost when we propose this. We want it as an aspiration. We want it there. But it suddenly won't materialise just by this site alone. That has been made clear at subsequent points when we brought out the brochure and in other parts of letting people know the changes that come about as we progress through the whole of this proposal. We are talking, as you see in section 2B, over a 25-year duration. We are involved with this, but we will be at the planning point. We want to be master planner, not master developer. We want to control the uplift and get the money to where it's needed into the infrastructure. We've always said that. But if you look at 2B, that's what's going to give it to us. It's also going to make sure that we do get the 1.5 million returned to us, which is what we've always wanted and we've always set our sights on and budgeted for. But this will also allow us to control the uplift, and that will come so that we can control what is delivered.
Can I just come back quickly on that? I do get that. We've got the land set aside for Leeds Langley Relief Road. We've got the will for the last 30 years for Leeds Langley Relief Road, but every time we try, the goalposts get moved. Oh, sorry, not enough houses. And I can just see what's going to happen. Well, you're only building 2,500 this year, so that's not enough. And then next year, there's only another 2,000 coming. Sorry, that's not enough. Oh no, 3,000 that year. No, sorry, that's not enough. So excuse the cynic in me. I'm just concerned. I just want to see it a little bit more concrete, I think.
I'm sure we can encourage you into the pilot seat a bit more. Mr. Councillor Perry, please.
No, I lost my thing.
No, we can hear you. Carry on.
I thought I'd lost my mouse for 1 minute. Look, this is an extremely difficult decision, I think. I've read this working paper very carefully. In fact, I've read it so many times. And when I first read it, I just stayed with the options. I thought, yeah, option 2B, that seems reasonable. And but when I've gone back, and I've gone back several times over it, the thing that worries me more than anything in this is the risk. And I noticed paras 5.2 to 5.4, this is very clearly highlighted in the working paper, but nothing more. It's just a statement. You know, we are dealing with public money here, and I am extremely worried that a lot of the issues you raise, like maintaining cohesion amongst the landowner group, sorting out the smaller landowners, there's a whole raft of stuff here that doesn't seem to have been resolved and still seems to be up in the air, and that does really worry me. The other thing is, I know we've had briefings and we've had yellow pages, but things move on, and I'm worried now that I haven't really seen what I would call a really full business case for this, and I think we need that. I think Councillor Powell was right, and I share some of the reservations of Councillor English as well. And the issue that Councillor Springett has raised about the infrastructure are extremely valid. You know, when I first looked at this, I wanted a motorway junction, and I can see, like the Leeds Langley Relief Road, it's sort of drifting away, and I'm extremely worried about that. There's a whole raft of issues, and the other thing is, we seem to moving the goalposts a little bit, don't we? 1 minute we were the, what do we call, the master developer. Now we're the master planner. Slightly different word, I think, slightly different word, if I may say so. So I'm a little bit worried that we're getting a rather confused message coming out of all this. And no one's actually said, if we went down option 2B, which I gather is the recommended option, and I see where you're coming from on that. And what would be our, if we want our feet under the table, what would be our position with Homes England? I'm not really sure. The paper is not terribly clear on that. And I think there's a whole raft of issues here that I'm still, I have to say, I'll be honest with you, I am struggling with. I'll leave it there, and I'd like to listen to what other members are saying on this. Thank you.
Can I just ask Mr. Cornwall, please, to check that we can you confirm what Councillor Perry is saying? Were we ever the master developer in any of this, Mr. Cornwall?
Yes, quite right. And I don't think I personally have ever used the term master planner. Just to be clear, master developer was always the term that we were using.
That's what I thought.
So, you know, what we have here in front of us from Homes England is 3 different routes with which we can engage with them, and obviously I can't produce the details until I have a mandate as to which route the committee wants to go down. So, you know, the paper is, you know, high level in nature because, you know, I need a mandate to sort of to go and then sit down with Homes England and then develop the details. And you'll see within the recommendations that, you know, they would be to be taken forward by myself in consultation with the chair and vice chair of this committee. So I'm trying to create a check and balance there. But yes, you know, my thinking with the project is if we hadn't secured Homes England as a partner for the project, you know, I think it would be inevitable that we would have a longer term role and stake. But getting the prize of Homes England involved in the project, I just think my advice would be that by going down the joint venture route, it would be making the delivery unnecessarily complicated because, you know, Homes England are there to do these kind of projects. I think where we can, in that context, add the most value is over the next 5 years, and then within the details of the contract, secure a seat at the table in terms of the master developer role too, but with no cash investment in that stage. And also, most importantly, the long-term management and stewardship of the new community. I think those are the aspects that are going to be most important to the council. So I hope that helps.
Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor Round, then Councillor Mackay, followed by Councillor Burton, Bryce, Gooch, and then I got our Chief Exec wishing to just come in and add to this. So if Councillor Round, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've actually, a lot of the debate has covered some of the points I wanted to raise when I originally wanted to signal a question. But I have an experience of Homes England in Headcorn already, and the housing does not meet what I call a good quality threshold. I'll leave it at that.
Councillor Mackay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, along with others, have shared some misgivings regarding this. I've said before, how can you describe a development squeezed between a motorway and a railway line, a garden community? But that being said, this proposal received cross-party support amongst the vast majority of councillors. And the reason why was quite simply, if you don't have a large settlement somewhere, whether it be in Marden, whether it be in Detling or Heathlands, you have the option of having 1,000 more houses in Bearsted, 1,000 more houses in Marden, 1,000 more houses in Headcorn, Staplehurst, Barming. Those are the alternatives you face. And as to doubts about whether you wish to partner up with Homes England, there's always been the intention right from the off that Maidstone would need to partner up with someone. And thank God it's Homes England, a government organisation. If it'd been Persimmon or Bellway, then we would be in deep trouble. Now, we come from a little town, we're in Little England, and £3 million spent on Heathlands sounds a huge amount of money, and it is. But when you're looking at the potential to build 5,000 homes, you know, that works out, you've invested £600 in each home now. And you're looking at getting half of that back from Homes England. This is someone we can work with. yes, we may have our misgivings, but just think, Val, do you want 1,000 more homes in Bearsted, which come with no school, no GP surgery, no road extension, just 1,000 houses? And the same goes for Headcorn, Marden, because those are the alternatives we face. So I have my misgivings, but hey, you know, just think of what the options are.
Thank you, Councillor Mackay. Councillor Burton.
Sorry, Chairman, I'm here. I was just typing myself out a couple of notes for things that I wanted to say and then couldn't find the right screen. There are clear concerns here, time and time again, being voiced by both members and Save Our Heathlands Action Group on behalf of local residents. I do accept that this is a very long-term piece of planning, and not all of the answers to the questions will find resolution and be forthcoming immediately. And a good example of that is the motorway junction. It's already becoming apparent that this isn't the panacea that we perhaps hoped it might be, but the motorway junction could be feasible alongside other sites. That is something we will have to wait to establish. But nonetheless, up until this point, we have committed as a Policy and Resources Committee to the investment of time and funds in exploring these options. And I do still believe that something positive could be achieved if we do explore those and those answers are one day forthcoming. However, as a member, I do feel a little at odds with some of the assertions by the Save Our Heathlands group regarding the water treatment and mineral sites. And I don't feel as a member that I've been, and this might be a misunderstanding or a lack of information I've received on my part, but I would like some more reassurance around those two particular issues, because I don't think that they're things that we've had huge amounts of detail at this committee. Then turning to the matter at hand this evening, because this is precisely the opportunity that we as members are all craving to have an informed discussion about a specific part of this proposal, to have information come to us and to have a steer on it. It has always been the case, as Councillor Mackay quite rightly says, that the option for seeking a partner on this was something that was a part of the possible future for this plan. We took the decision as a committee to do so, and we took the decision that we would look favourably on Homes England if they were willing to work with us. I still maintain that that is a good thing. I have done a little bit of research on Homes England and tried to read through some of their corporate statements and so on and so forth, and I'm hugely encouraged by what they could add to this. But I do agree with members who have suggested that 10 pages of information for what will be an incredibly detailed agreement doesn't fill me with the confidence to be able to say this evening, yes, absolutely, go away and do option 2B and we won't think about it anymore. So I am minded to support Councillor Powell with his motion, and I'm happy to help out with some wording on this if that is acceptable to you, Councillor Powell, that a final agreement, we sit here and we say we crave information, a final draft of that agreement should come to this committee before it's signed. So the sort of wording that I would be supportive of would be for the council to initially enter into discussions around an agreement with Homes England for the purposes set out to this report that broadly reflects option 2B, but that no agreement is signed until a report is brought back to Policy and Resources with the full agreement as an appendix to be agreed by committee. That's the sort of level I think that there is an appetite for members here to get involved in this. We were promised control, we were promised information, we were promised the ability to really get under the skin of this. And I think it would be remiss of us as members not to pursue that at this particular opportunity. We're dealing with one granular piece of a very, very big puzzle here. and we want to get under the skin of it. So, Councillor Powell, if you're happy with wording roughly to that effect, I might absolutely support you this evening.
Yeah, could I just come in there, please, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify that was pretty much along the lines, Matt, of what I was mentioned earlier, that this council posed a motion that would not allow Maidstone Council to sign any agreement until members receive a report that details the full facts of the agreement, roles and responsibilities, and how and what exposure this council would have. So along those lines, yes.
Ms Parfitt, do you have that now written down as a proposal? I will ask Mr Cornell to come in because 3 people have now stated or asked questions. So while you're just checking whether you have that as a proposal written down, Ms Parfitt, Mr Cornell?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Burton. Yeah, really, what's going to be helpful this evening is, I've set out the 3 routes that we could go with Homes England and given a clear recommendation, which it feels like the committee is sort of moving behind. So personally, I don't think it'd be hugely problematic to take that mandate off, negotiate the collaboration agreement and bring it back to this committee for approval. I think just to balance that, obviously, we're not going to be able to negotiate the details by committee, but I think we're understanding the types of assurances and checks and balances that the committee is going to be looking for in the contract overall. So I don't see why that request should be problematic in the context I've outlined, really.
So are you saying that it would be feasible to bring it back to our first meeting in January?
January may be difficult realistically because of the Christmas break, but we could always, I'm sure, given the importance of the project and so on, convene a specific meeting for this item if necessary and so on. But I would have thought end of January, early February is going to be the realistic point at which we would have a draft contract to consider.
Would the 2 movers or mover and seconder find that timetable acceptable?
Yes, absolutely, Chairman. I mean, negotiations take time. Christmas may get in the way of things. Totally appreciate that. So happy with that timetable, but it's about having that information at our fingertips. Yeah.
Yes, and likewise, yeah. It's all we want is clarity. We want the facts. Nothing more than that, Mr. Chairman.
And for the recommendation to be specific, that it's option 2B. That's the model you want me to negotiate.
I don't think it's not about models. It's about what I've just actually mentioned, that everything from Homes England is put before this committee so that it can be looked at, discussed, debated, and once we know the full facts behind it, I think then we are able to look at 2B, not this evening.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't think that's the motion that Mr. Burton put.
No, Chairman, if I could just clarify, I think the position that I've drawn to is we have a recommendation from Mr. Cornell that 2B would be a potentially viable, even preferable route for negotiation. My suggestion is that we give that mandate to go to negotiate it, but that we wish to see the detail before anything is signed, because we sit here as members and say we crave the detail, we crave the answers. This is precisely an opportunity to have that, and I'm sure members will then be reassured by the agreement that we are going into. But 10 pages to make such a big decision with such a huge financial implication, to me, doesn't feel entirely comfortable. Support you with the mandate to go and approach 2B because you need a steer from us, but we'd like to see it when it comes back.
In order to move this forward, may I second Matt Burton's proposal?
I think that's been done by Councillor Powell, unless
Councillor Powell did not support that proposal. He wanted everything to come back.
It was clarification there, Matt. As I said, I'm on exactly the same lines as that, and I'm quite happy to go with that, but just on the understanding that 2B isn't. 2B is still in the air when it comes back. It's clarity. It's all I want is clarity. So that is confirming what you've just said, Councillor Burton, and thank you very much.
So, Councillor Powell, are you expecting all of the options to come back, if you like, explained in more detail? Or are you saying what Councillor Burton is saying, that our nod is more towards 2B, so expand on that one and endorse it with why the others are not better?
Mr. Chairman, is all I've said that this council doesn't sign any agreement until the members received a report that details and the full facts of the agreement, roles and responsibilities, and how and what exposure this council will have. So that is basically exactly what Councillor Burton said, and
okay.
I haven't moved from that. Yeah.
Okay, right. Councillor English, I don't think that's needed then, your seconder.
Yeah, I think on the clarification from Councillor Powell, that's okay.
Thank you. Mr. Cornwall, is that clear enough for yourself as well?
So, as I'm understanding it, you want me to go off and negotiate a contract for option 2B and bring it back to this committee for approval or rejection?
Yep.
Correct.
Precisely.
Chairman, could I ask you how that would affect the local plan review?
Chairman, could I just come in here? It's Councillor Bryce. I think what you're actually looking at.
Sorry, Councillor Bryce, Councillor Clark had just asked a question. I think that was right. I heard Councillor Clark ask a question.
I felt it was pertinent at that point just to have a brief comment from the officer about how this might affect the local plan review.
Thank you. If we could ask that, and I'll come back to you, Councillor Bryce.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I don't think it impacts on our timeline anyway. You know, we have the mandate to, you know, if you look at the recommendations, as long as I get that mandate to develop the third stage submission by the end of Q4, you know, we're on track with the local planning authority of what they're asking of us. So in answer to your question, no, I don't believe it causes any problems.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've just put in the IM. I apologise to Councillor Bryce. I can see she was indeed next to speak, but I believe that Councillor Clark was just asking for clarification on one point, not asking a specific question that may be different to the proposal.
Yes, and my point was also on the proposal to try and move it forward, Chair. Yeah, okay. And may I speak now?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I think what Councillor Burton might be looking at is just amending the second point in terms of the recommendation, and rather than say that it's just the chair and vice chair that are going to look at the final points and agree the final agreement, that actually what Councillor Burton is asking for is for that agreement to come back to the committee. So I wonder if it may be simpler to amend the wording on point 2. However, I think Councillor Powell is actually reluctant to agree to point 1, and I think that's the tension you were trying to clarify, and that's still not resolved for me, because I would just support a rewording of point 2. If we have a committee system, I think the agreement should come back to the committee that's deciding it, rather than go off to the chair and vice chair. If my question to Mr. Corner was if that's feasible, and I think he's indicated it is, obviously if there was a time issue or a commercial issue, then I can understand why just discussing it with the chair and vice chair may be expedient. But if that isn't an issue, which I don't think it is, I would support, and I don't want to throw another thing into the mix, but it may be quicker just to amend point 2 to capture that.
Yeah, just to
that's what they've been proposed.
If we could just look at the recommendations again, I think what you're saying is on recommendation 1, rather than us enter into a collaboration agreement, we should say to continue to pursue the collaboration agreement with Homes England for the purposes set out in this report. Yeah? And then for option 2, we want to say something along the lines that collaboration agreement, once negotiated, is brought back to this committee for approval.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes. And if I may, just one further detail, in terms of the option 3 and 4, they need to be reworded slightly to say to grant me the authority to make those submissions in consultation with the chair and vice chair. So that slight change to recommendations 3 and 4.
I can understand why 18B would be given the timescales, but I don't know whether or not that item 4, would that not need to come back to the committee to be consistent with point 2?
I think, no, we have to get on with that. We have to make that submission by the end of quarter 4. So, that work needs to start now.
Okay, can I just go back to Councillor Burton and Councillor Powell? The idea for a bit of clarity by Councillor Bryce seems very good. Are you happy with what has now been worded with the amendments to 1 and clarification and amendment of 2 and the additional words put forward by Mr. Cornell? Is that an easier way forward, Mr. Burton and Mr. Powell?
I think that's a far more elegant solution. I was trying to cram it all into amendments to point 1, but yes.
Double word score, elegant, like it. Have that for Scrabble at the Christmas period. Councillor Powell? Have we still got Councillor Powell in the meeting, or has he disappeared?
Yeah, no, Councillor Powell is still here. It's what we're looking for is clarity, and before we sign any paperwork at all. Yeah. So that Councillor Bryce has encompassed that. In fact, I think we've all encompassed that in our own words tonight.
Okay, so I think we now have that for clarity. I will just look down the list of speakers who wished to say something, because I will give them the option, unless that is what they were trying to manufacture. I do see, though, the clerk. Ms. Parfitt, have you got anything, a point of order, or do you just want to add before I go back to Councillor Gooch?
It was actually, apologies, Chairman. It was actually just to ask for some clarity on the actual wording for recommendation 2, because whilst I understand what is being requested, I just wanted to make sure that I had the correct wording to mirror that.
Would you like to just read out your wording now, so that people can all be thinking about that as I go back to Councillor Gooch? So if you'd like to read what you have now, or are you asking for it to be clarified?
Oh, no, I'm asking for it to be clarified, please.
Chairman, I might be able to be useful here for a change.
Go on then, Councillor Burton.
So I think the wording wants to say for the collaboration agreement to provide both officers and members input in the pre and post delivery phases, with those members being the those on Policy and Resources Committee. I think that effectively covers it, as it will come back to committee.
Or just with those members of this committee?
Yes, yeah, precisely.
Agreed. What I was going to suggest as well, Councillor Burton. I think that's the right wording.
Okay, but there was something in recommendation 1, that needed to be changed, I believe. Mr. Cornell?
I've got it
here.
I've
got that wording, Chairman.
You've got that, okay.
Yes, I do.
That's
sorry.
Lovely. And you have the amendments, just wording again, VAT 3 and 4?
Yes, I do, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. I will just go back, if you will all indulge me, to Councillor Gooch, who has been crocheting a bedspread or something in the time it's been since she indicated. Councillor Gooch.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I have to say, I wish to just refer back to our speakers earlier this evening, Mr. Healy. I do feel that whatever Mr. Healy says, I feel compelled to listen to his words. He gives a very insightful but objective look into all this. And every time he speaks, I do get cold feet and I do get misgivings. And I have to say, I've had to go back to and indeed, even with Councillor Sams, the things that they have said. And I'm sure that Mr. Healy must think that we must have ignored him this evening because we've gone off on whether or not on looking into 2B and how it should be worded. But I would just like to say that this is a very, very long term. We are looking for a leap of faith. We don't have a huge amount of detail. We are trying to be enablers to make something happen. And even in paragraph 2.6 on page 85, it's very clear that the next stage will need to be as comprehensive as possible, because it may not even feature in the next iteration. It may not even get to Regulation 19. And I do think that we all need to bear that in mind. And equally on the next page, principal landowners. The speakers this evening are quite right. We haven't finished having these talks with the landowners. So as we move forward with this, we are, when I say we, I mean, I hope this committee, we're not thinking that everything is set in stone. We know there are risks. We know it may never happen at all. But let's have this leap of faith. We hold our nerve. It's in the long term. The detail will come through over the next 5 years. It'll be a huge development. So I feel as if that needed to be said, because we have people speaking here both tonight and all the other meetings. We've had people come to implore us not to proceed with this. And we do listen, but we're looking for the future. The detail will come, but we're a long way away from it yet. Thank you very much, Chairman, for letting me carry on. But I had to say what I had to say.
Thank you very much. I have been having problems, obviously, with my IM. It's been telling me that I'm not connected. So please, can I just clarify, does anybody else wish to speak?
Chairman, if I may just very quickly echo the sentiments of Councillor Gooch, and I did try as best as I could in a short period of time to acknowledge the concerns expressed once again by Save-Our Heathlands in my opening remarks, and perhaps it could just be noted in the minutes that a request is made that when we have our next monthly report on this, for me personally, the areas that Mr. Healy has raised where I feel least informed currently are with regards to the water treatment and the minerals site that have been mentioned. And I would like whatever information is currently available to come forth to reassure members in our next update, please, because I do feel Councillor Gooch is absolutely right that sometimes we slightly skirt around the concerns that are being brought to us, and we need more information on those. So I don't necessarily want to put that as a further motion, but if it could be minuted and picked up for the next report, that would be much appreciated.
May I just speak on that one, Chairman?
Certainly.
About the Western Parcel. I did cover that in my report of October and November, because it was all covered by the local planning authority and the commission from Stantec, which I summarised for the members of this committee either in November or October. I think it was November. But we most certainly have covered those points of query, Councillor Burton.
Mr. Cornwall, you're absolutely right. And in fact, Chairman, forgive me for butting in, but I've realised that I have committed the cardinal sin and straying. We're straying into the business of the strategic planners, and the local planning authority, when they actually look at this whole thing. We've strayed into that territory. And that will come out with the viability assessment, which is being carried out for the local plan review. Sorry, Mr. Cornwall, you're absolutely right.
3 Hail Marys, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
right.
Apologies, Mr. Cornwall. Sorry, could I just say for clarity, Chairman, I missed a recent policy and resources meeting through illness. I will go back over those papers now. Apologies, Mr. Cornwall, I may have missed something.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burton. I've made a note of those items because also I was going to, in my next chairman's briefing and prelim to the next meetings, I was going to ask Mr. Cornwall to clarify whether the item that was being mentioned by Mr. Healy, which is to the west, was the same one that he was commenting was slap bang in the middle of the development that our red line area. I was just wanting to get that clarified. And also, Mr. Healy made reference to 123 principal landowners. So I will be asking for clarification of exactly how many landowners we are talking about in the sense of the ones that we are with at the moment. So thank you very much for all of that clarification on what we're about to move forward to a vote. I will ask, but what I'm going to say is if we can vote on 1, 2, 3 and 4 as the wording that's now been corrected and amended. Does anybody wish to hear that once again before we ask for the vote?
I wish to hear it.
Who was that? Sorry.
It's Karen.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I can't tell until the system updates who's spoken. So Councillor Chapeltay has asked for it once.
Apologies for interrupting. Apologies, Councillor Chapeltay. I must leave the meeting now, so I just wanted to let you know before you wondered where I'd gone.
Okay.
Councillor Bryce, sorry.
Righty-ho. If you wanted to wait just 2 minutes.
I'm sorry, I can't. I have to go. It's a family commitment. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Right. Ms. Parfitt, would you please read out the whole of 1 and 2? 3 and 4, I'm sure, is fine.
Of course, Chairman. So for recommendation 1, we now have for the Council to continue to pursue a collaboration agreement with Homes England for the purposes as set out in this report, and for this agreement to reflect option 2B, the Council to co-fund the circa 3 million Council share circa 1.5 million required to continue to promote Heathlands through the local plan review, secure planning consent and the land options with the principled owners and landowners north of the railway line. Land options, but limits financial exposure to this phase and recover this investment through a share of planning uplift over the duration of the circa 25-year delivery phase, with any profits realised to be reinvested with the new community itself. And for the second recommendation to now read for the collaboration agreement to provide both officer and member input into the pre and post delivery phases with those members of this committee.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that has been proposed and seconded by Councillors Burton and Powell. I would now ask Ms. Parfitt to take the vote, please.
Thank you, Chairman. So Councillor M. Burton.
For.
Councillor Chapeltay.
Abstain.
Councillor Clark.
For.
Councillor Cox.
For.
Councillor English.
For.
Councillor Mrs. Gooch.
For.
Councillor Harvey.
For.
Councillor Mackay.
For.
Councillor Mortimer.
For.
Councillor Perry.
For.
Councillor Powell.
For.
Councillor Round.
For.
Councillor Springett.
For.
That is 12 for, 1 abstention. That is carried, Chairman.
Sorry, Ms. Parfitt, you didn't get a Councillor de Wigendine Shepherd.
Oh, Councillor de Wigendine, please accept my apologies. Councillor de Wigendine Shepherd.
That's outrageous. Yes, 4.
My apologies.
Yours.
Now
Chairman, that is carried.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Ms. Parfitt. Okay, right, I put a change in the, thank you very much for everybody's input in that. I think it was very constructive, all very well behaved. Thank you very much for the speaker and to the visiting members as well for their input for that. So I would like to move up, as we spoke in the beginning, for the EU transition update. I believe this is from Mr. Green.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This report's been brought for information as it's a highly topical subject at the moment, and to make sure that you're aware of plans for EU transition on 31st December as they affect us. And what's in here is relevant regardless of whether we have a trade deal, as we'd still be leaving the EU customs area. And that means that there's going to be a whole set of new arrangements at the border, regardless of whether there's a trade deal or not. And a huge amount of work has gone on in the council and the authorities that make up the Kent Resilience Forum. The focus has mostly been on traffic management. And as the report explains, the core of the traffic management plan is one where there's a escalating series of measures to be taken if there's traffic disruption, first implementing the Dover Tap, then Brock on the M20, and then Manston. And it's set out both in summary in the report and also in the appendix, which is the what's called the Operation Fennel Plan. And the locations of the various places that are mentioned in the report are set out in a map on page 115 of the papers. As the report says, all of this is happening at the same time as we're dealing with COVID-19. So it's a real double whammy. And the way that that's being addressed, both by Maidstone Borough Council and by the KRF, is to integrate the officer structure that's addressing this. So there's groups of officers who are responsible ultimately both for the EU transition and COVID-19 response. So hopefully there'll be a seamless response. And I won't go further, although obviously I'm happy to answer questions, but I think what this report, I hope, shows is that although there's still a lot of uncertainty at the moment, particularly about whether there's a free trade deal, I think we can show that we're as prepared as we can be, given the preparations that have been made. So I'll leave it at that and take any questions that members may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Green. If I may just add, because I came out of the joint leaders meeting this afternoon that we have every month, and indeed weekly for COVID, just to bring people absolutely up to date. You may have heard in the news recently that they were saying that the Sevington Inland Border Facility was not going to be ready. Well, Barbara Cooper from KCC almost had a fit over that, and if she could have grabbed the reporter through the TV, she said she would. It is actually ready. There are white lines on the tarmac ready to receive the 1200 HGVs that it's there. What is not ready is the actual border facility, as in the bodies and the appropriate office type things that the government are supposed to provide, I believe. And to back that up, you'll see on page 114, the Waterbrook site is located in Ashford, and that will be backing up the Sevington facility as well. So she assures us that everything is in place. If you run through this briefing note, it is very thorough. I've received this now every week for the last 6 or 8 weeks of everything being brought up to speed. One point I just did make, I used Brock during the weekend and came back with the quick movable barrier, the concrete barrier that's been put in place. You will notice that that will have gone in over the weekend. It was taken out on Monday or Tuesday. It will be returned to place between the 27th and 28th of December, ready for everything to start in earnest just after the new year or on the new year. So from my point of view, Mark has relayed everything you need to know. I just wanted to add that, because if anybody thought it wasn't ready, what they've done down there is nothing short of a miracle. The pictures from the air are fantastic. So anybody else wishing to say anything to that item, it is just for noting and to bring you all up to speed. But if you have any questions, aim them at Mark, because he's been to all the Fennel briefings, and also one of our officers as well. Can't remember who. I think it might have been Chris Hinwood. Anyway, so anybody else wishing to speak? If not, I will move on. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Green, for the update, and thank you, members, for have a look at it. 105, page 105. Right, okay, we have the last item coming before us. It's 8:20. So what I will do, we will go into the King Street car park item 16, and at anybody wishing to drill down through this anymore, we will have to move into part 2, as I stated at the beginning of the meeting. So please be aware of your questions needing to be in the item 16 or indeed in 18. So after we've heard the presentation from Mr. Cornwall, I will then ask for questions, but only relating to what's been said and can be said in open session. So, Mr. Cornwall, thank you.
Chairman, it's actually going to be my colleague Alison Elliott that's going to make the presentation.
Sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alison.
Good evening, everybody. In line with the local plan, officers have been investigating the redevelopment of King Street car park for residential use. The report details a proposal for 16 residential dwellings with the loss of only 4 pay and display parking spaces, thereby continuing to generate parking income for the council. Officers have been considering the best approach for the redevelopment of this site and to minimise disruption to the operation of the car park have investigated the use of off-site modern methods of construction. Officers have identified the LHC framework as the most cost-effective and efficient route to procure these works. Following a procurement exercise, Z-Pods have been chosen as the council's preferred contractor. The purpose of this report is to update the committee on the design proposals and to seek approval to enter into a pre-contract service agreement and JCT design and build contract with the preferred contractor Z-Pods, subject to planning and financial availability being achieved. The proposed linear design will be sited towards the rear of the car park and, as I said, use off-site modern method of construction to reduce construction time and the duration that the parking bays will be temporarily closed. It's estimated that an off-site modular build based on the proposed design could be completed in approximately 10 months, during which it's anticipated that 33 bays to the rear and eastern side of the site will be closed for approximately 13 weeks, and then the full car park for a further 3 weeks during the construction phase. This loss of income has been reflected in the financial appraisal shown in the exempt Appendix 2 within the other costs. As stated in the report, there are a number of benefits associated with the proposed design. The proposal will deliver 16 new residential homes consisting of a mix of 1 and 2 bed apartments, 6 of which will be offered a social rent. The apartments are designed to national space standards, all with private amenity space. The proposal will improve street scene and include improvements to the boundary with planting. The proposed design will also enable parking underneath the apartments with ample lighting. Z-Pods have designed low-energy, low-carbon homes for this scheme. The homes have been designed with the lowest possible running costs. Energy-efficient units will have solar panels to generate renewable electricity during the day, quiet running heat pumps providing low-energy heating, triple glazing and LED lighting. The indicative programme is referred to at point 2.14. Thank you for listening, and I would welcome any feedback and questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Elliott. I will go, funnily enough, to Councillor English, who is the ward councillor present.
I was quite surprised when this proposal came forward at first. I'm reasonably happy with the general outlines of it. I would just observe that progress has not been smooth in terms of the local community with either the Union Street or the Brunswick proposals, although they're shaping up reasonably well in the end. But it's taken a lot of management from council officers and members. So delivering this proposal it could be quite a bumpy ride. So all I'm saying is that in order to manage this process properly, local members need to be very much involved in both the delivery on this committee's side and indeed in the planning process, because this is going to be, don't make no doubt about this, if this is mismanaged or local sensitivities aren't taken fully into account, this could be quite a controversial and damaging proposal. Now, if we get it right, it will be anything but, because potentially, well, the King Street road frontage is not a pretty site. neither are any of its other sides in relation to Church Street, which is an unattractive site at the best of times, to be honest. So potentially we could actually have a significant improvement into the landscape and the street scene here, but it is a sensitive project and it needs sensitive management, and we didn't always at the early stages have a great deal of liaison between the ward councillors and the project managers on the Brunswick and Union Street proposals. That was overcome with including help from Alison as we move forward, but we need to make sure that's in place at the early stages of this, otherwise it could all be a bit messy. But I don't have a problem with the outlines of the proposals, given the fairly minimal loss of parking in the end.
Am I hearing your your positivity being anything more than just your statement so far?
I'm positive. Well, I'm minded to support the recommendation, provided that we actually add something along the lines of a similar note to what we added in lines of the Holy Trinity foyer proposal when we had a discussion on that, for much the same reason, that there be there be regular liaison with the ward members on the delivery of this project, which would be a 6 recommendation.
Clive, I'll second you if you're going to propose that.
Yes, and otherwise I'm happy to move the recommendation with that addition.
Happy to second.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a proposer and a seconder. I will move on to Councillor Mackay at this stage, then Councillor Perry and Councillor de Wigendine. I'm afraid I am responding to people saying, okay, but underneath it says the action could not be completed. Please try again later. So I will do it verbally. So those are the people in that order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And your IM did come through.
Oh, did it? Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yes. So a bit like Clive, really. When I first read this, I thought, wow. So we couldn't get what we want, but we're going to get 16 apartments. I find it very difficult to visualise, and I'm sorry that you weren't able to supply an indicative design. But can I just ask a simple question on the for the deliveries to these apartments, will they be at the road at the back of the King Street car park, or would deliveries have to come into King Street car park? I know it's a minor point, but Alison?
Sorry, could I just say there was a proposed design on the appendix?
Well, I must have
but I do have that. I do have those, and of course I can share those. That's not a problem. With regards to deliveries, I must admit we haven't gone that far down the line yet, but they have said, being that King Street is quite an open road, that they may well be able to just deliver from the front of the car park.
Well,
sorry, Councillor Mackay, are you meaning during building or actually when they're inhabited?
No, when they're occupied.
Okay.
People,
oh, sorry.
People order lots of things online these days. So yes, when they're occupied, Alison.
Again, like I said, we haven't gone that far down the line with full designs. We're not at a fixed design just yet, and obviously that will need to be discussed. But at the moment, we are looking at them being into the car park.
Okay. I've got some questions on 18. I won't refer to numbers, but I just want to know the shorthand, what you're talking about. All right. So on 18, yellow papers, TSC, I take it that's total scheme cost.
Yes, correct.
So what is MSV?
Market sales value.
So, okay, that's your estimate of market sales value, yeah? All right.
Sorry to interrupt, my estimate, and we've also been out.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry?
Sure, I'm sure you paid a lot of money for someone's expert opinion as to what it's going to be worth. The build cost, what contingency do we have in there in terms of overruns? I mean, building costs very rarely come in at the initial stab.
Yeah, we have had a cost consultant look into this, and we've also had the contractors give us an estimate. And within those estimates, there are contingencies and there are also abnormals that might throw up any issues as well.
So we've got a what, 10, 20% contingencies?
It ranges from 10 to 15 from the contractor's estimate and the cost estimate from our employer's agent.
Okay. I remember the last time I questioned this was the cafe in Moat Park, and I think that doubled in the end. So from the initial estimate. Okay. So if there's significant changes, presumably that would have to come back to this committee. Yeah? No?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Fine. Then I've no reason to dwell further into Yellow Pages unless others do.
Thank you very much. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I broadly support this proposal, and I also support the extra recommendation that I think Councillor English has moved. So I have no problem there. Just a couple of observations. And I won't go into the actual figures on the Yellow Pages, but the net present value, that presumably is the refers to the internal rate of return. Am I right in saying that? Which is on the Yellow Pages.
Yes, yes.
So okay, I won't go into any more detail because I realise it's Yellow Pages. I'll be in real trouble if I do. The other small point is, of course, the current local plan policy was for mixed retail, wasn't it? And I realise for understandable reasons that is not quite possible now. So it's not quite in line with the local plan policy, is it? I understand why, but it just that was kind of an observation more than anything else. But I do support the proposal, so I don't have an issue with it. I won't dwell on anymore.
Thank you very much, Councillor Perry. Mr. Cornwall has got a visual that he could put on the shared screen, so the screen will come over. And while that's happening, I'll invite Councillor de Wigan, Shepherd, please, and then Councillor Powell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I've got to say, as a rule, I don't approve of building on car parks, and I've opposed this on a number of times. And the reason is, like, officers' feelings on the availability of parking is not always shared by drivers seeking to park and shop. On this, I actually have to admit that I'm still something of a skeptic. But currently I'm prepared to give it the benefit of the doubt for the time being.
I'll take that. Thank you very much, Councillor de Wigan, Shepherd. The image you see there, just to make very clear, there is undercroft parking under that. Those parking spaces seem to appear just out of the front underneath the balcony, but be very clear, this is an undercroft parking. We're only losing, 6 or 8 spaces in all, I think, and that probably will be due to services along the back or something like that. So the isometric view you're seeing there is a bit deceptive, but there is parking underneath that, so which we're probably going to scroll down and see.
How many spaces for the actual residents?
Alison?
0.
So there's going to be.
But as residents, they'll be able to park there after 6:30 at night.
That's
and
correct.
Leave before 8 o'clock in the morning.
Actually, in that car park,
apply for a permit.
It could be actually
for free parking.
because that's the precedent that was set for other developments that tight in the area, Martin.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So the net loss could be much larger than.
Sorry. What? So, Alison, are you saying what is the net loss? None? Have I disappeared?
No, you haven't.
Alison,
sorry, I'd lost. There? Yes, sorry, I am. I'd lost my connection then. 4
So what is
spaces.
The net loss of parking spaces?
4 spaces.
4.
Okay. So that will probably be the steels going into the ground to support.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but you've already said that these residents may well have free parking on site. So the net loss is not 4, is it? Because you now have these residents on site with the right to park.
No, only during the evening, Councillor Wiggindine.
Is that right? Is that only during the evening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody with a visitor's permit can park in a public Maidstone Borough Council car park with their permit between 6:30 and 8 in the morning, I believe. I'm correct. Someone change if I'm wrong. So yeah, they'll be able to use them in the evening. So if they're commuting, that'll be absolutely fine, or they'd have to remove it before the enforcement officers start. You did see there that the modular building, which I'm very encouraged that we're starting to see, and the build time is very good indeed. I'm interested to see how this all shapes up. Councillor Powell, please, and then Councillor Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really, it was just to back up what Councillor English was saying earlier on, that there's going to be numerous questions that will be certainly kind of asked at a planning level, and I'm sure that this council has got everything in place for that. You know, I mean, King Street, for a start, is going to be in chaos during the construction. It would be good to see exactly how much revenue we're likely to lose. And, you know, did you actually say there was going to be underground car parking there, or did I mishear that, Mr. Chairman?
Well, it's under Croft. So it's under the building itself.
It's under the building itself. But it would be good to see the actual kind of business case behind it. But as I say, there's lots of information to come back to the committee where that will go. SPI planning, I don't know.
Straight to planning.
Yeah, but so I will reserve my judgment to them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Perry, did you want to come back, or is that a latent green phone?
Very quick. Just tell Councillor Mackay that Palace has just scored with a 1-0.
Okay. I'm glad that's on the public record. Palace
I'm sorry about that. I couldn't resist.
John, thank you very much.
Okay, it's always a pleasure.
Right. Okay, Councillor Mortimer.
I was just going to recommend to members to go on the ZPod's website, and there's a number of projects on there, and if you Google it as well, there's a number of projects, Bristol, for example, where they've been working down there, and there's quite a bit of detail regarding contingency as well online. So, and I fully support the project.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mortimer. I mean, looking at the pictures that were just going up past us that Mr. Cornell was putting up, I think this is the way forward. You know, we have these muddy sites all over the place where we bring all these products and materials and they sit around in the rain and then they're called up and put into a lovely house. It would be much better if they were made somewhere and then brought in and just placed, which looks like what's going to happen. Councillor Clark.
Very quickly, I just wanted to say that with this type of construction, there is actually a lot more certainty with the cost. We were talking about the chance that they might go up in value. So I think this is actually one of those projects where that's probably going to be less of an issue.
Okay, brilliant. So we have had a proposer and a seconder, as on the papers. At the moment, I don't see any need to take this into part 2. If we can carry on in this way, this will be brilliant. There are no amendments proposed. It is as on the papers. Does anybody wish to oppose this and vote against? Because if I don't hear anybody speak now, I will not ask for a vote.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be abstaining.
That means I'll have to take a vote. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman, that was with item 6 added, presumably.
with the involvement of ward members.
Yeah,
Yes?
sorry, because I went offline for a second there.
Well, I think we've all tried to do that. Okay, so it is including a 6th recommendation that the ward members are involved. What would you like the adjective to be, Councillor English?
With the development of this, with the development, and in particular the ensuring that it runs smoothly in relation to the local community.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Parfitt, is that all clear? If I could ask you to take a vote, as I have had indication of one person wishing to do other than approve. So if you're all poised on your microphone muting buttons, please.
Thank you, Chairman. So, Councillor M. Burton.
4.
Councillor Chapeltay.
4.
Councillor Clark.
4.
Councillor Cox.
4.
Councillor English.
4.
Councillor Mrs. Gooch.
4.
Councillor Harvey.
4.
Councillor Mackay.
4.
Councillor Mortimer.
4.
Councillor Perry.
4.
Councillor Powell.
Abstain.
Councillor Round.
4.
Councillor Springett.
4.
Councillor de Wigan Shepherd.
4.
Thank you, Chairman. With one abstention, that is carried.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Miss Elliott, for giving that to us. It looks like you have a positive to proceed. Thank you very much. And with that, we do not need to move into part 2. And I believe I've come to the end of the agenda. So to everybody this evening, thank you very much for your participation, for your valued input. Thank you to the officers. Thank you to Ms. Parfitt. Thank you to directors present this evening. I think that's our last meeting pretty much before Christmas. Please, if you're going to go and visit people, let's make sure it's people you know and they are just in your bubble. Consider whether you need to go, but wherever you go, have a Merry Christmas and let's hope for a better one next year. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. Thank you for your participation. Good night.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.